live. All three. Hey everybody, welcome to the PowerCast. Now I keep doing that. You know what? We're not the PowerCast anymore. This is the Team Powerhouse podcast, and Eric Vasquez is not here tonight to correct me. Eric Vasquez is normally on your far right. Of course, this is David here, Eric missing, and a very special guest in the middle over here, which is now just to my left. His name is Steve Smith. He's with a fantastic company you want to get to know and trust. It's called Wet Basement Waterproofing LLC. An amazing guy with so much knowledge and experience. If you've ever had water in your basement, this is the time to pay attention. If you've never had water in your basement, this is the time to pay attention because you don't want to have water in your basement. Before we get started, making sure you guys are all paying attention and watching our show every week and know how to find us. Go to, please, Facebook. Look up Team Powerhouse Real Estate or David Lamel. Go to Instagram, Team Powerhouse Real Estate. Go to Spotify when in the car, Team Powerhouse Real Estate. Go to Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Rumble. Go to YouTube, type in Team Powerhouse Real Estate, and follow, and make sure to be updated every week. We appreciate being a part of your lives every week, educating you on real estate and very cool businesses, important things for you to know about on a weekly. So, again, we have Eric missing. He is on the road. He's got a closing tomorrow. He's out in Winsted, Connecticut, doing a walkthrough at a property. Yes, we sell in Winsted as well. We're all over the state. So in case you're looking to buy or sell a house, we'd love to work for you. But let's get with it right now. Steve Smith, a legend in the waterproofing business. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, my friend. So Steve was on the show about a year and a half ago, where we learned a lot of the basic knowledge about basement waterproofing. And what I'm going to tell you is a lot more things have been happening in water, snow, and everything that's happening with protecting your home. And you guys need to make sure you understand what it's all about. So thank you, TikTok, for being a part of us. We're at 23,000 viewers at this time. Pretty crazy. Instagram, Facebook, Live, YouTube. Everybody's watching. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Our team is probably also paying attention. Great people on our team. Love to be a part of your lives. But let's get into Steve and more about you. So, first of all, Steve, where are you from?
I'm from Arlington.
Arlington, Connecticut.
Yes.
Very nice. Is that where you grew up?
No, I grew up in Waterbury. I'm originally from Waterbury. I've been living in Arlington for about 10 years now.
Very cool. Arlington's a cool little area over there. That nice, beautiful lake.
Yes.
Arlington Lake, right?
Yes.
It's a lake, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the most, I think, the cleanest lakes and the most. I sold a house in Harrington Lake over there one time. They was telling me about the lake being one of the most, I think, the cleanest and very healthy environment over there.
Yes, it is. Supposedly it's like the cleanest lake in the
It is the cleanest lake. That's what it was, the cleanest lake. All right. So you're from Waterbury, originally living in Harrington. Your business is out of Harrington.
Yes, I'm out of Harrington.
But you do travel the state because I've had you in Cheshire, I've had you in Southington, I've had you in Fairfield County, I've had you in Hartford County, down the shoreline. You go where the problems are.
Yes.
So if you're out there, this is the guy you want working for you for many reasons, and we'll get into that right now. So first question is, how did you get involved in basement waterproofing?
Back in 2002, I was going to school. I was a little burnt out by school. I had a friend that worked for one of the larger companies. He offered me a job, so I started then.
Yes. And when you were working at this company, you must have seen many things and learned a lot while you were there. I'm just assuming.
Yes, it was a big company. We've seen large volumes of work. We've seen all sorts of problems, seen all sorts of stuff.
And when you were there at this company, you probably began to realize, like, wow, this company is charging a lot of money for what is being done over here. And their customer service may not be as good as it could be. Is that fair, reasonable?
Well, they were a good company. They had good customer service.
Okay.
And, they were overall very, very, very good.
He's being so nice. So you decided that you wanted to open up your own company.
Yes.
Okay. And what year did you open your own company?
In 2007.
So you've been doing this for how many years at this time?
5 years.
5 years at that company, decided to open up your own company. And I actually met Steve myself from a Steve that we all know called Steve. My name is Steve Votto. He's our manager in the Cheshire Co-Banker office. One day I was in a situation where my clients were buying a house, we were going to a closing, we did the walkthrough, and of course, there's water in the basement. Our manager Jennifer was away on vacation, I called Steve up, and I said, Steve, what do I do? I need help. And he says, call Steve Smith, this guy's amazing, he will take amazing care of your clients. And that's how we met. And you came to the house, I'll never forget it, this house was impeccably clean, it was a beautiful home, the seller never had water in their basement before, but of course, there was water, and snow and ice and hydrostatic pressure that happens. And you walked in the house and you said, not a big deal, we can take care of this pretty simply. We need to put a, you kind of said, we need to put a thing over here, a system over here, a sump pump, a pump, and the price was fair and reasonable. My clients were happy, those clients were happy from the selling side as much as they could be at the time. And that's the way we became, a relationship is born, if you will. It was pretty cool stuff. I was impressed by not only how you handled the situation, eliminating the stress from the buyers and sellers' feelings, but making them feel better knowing that when they had you there and you took care of the problem, that they weren't going to have any more problems anymore, and that's a big thing when it comes to water-based roofing. So, how long have you been open for altogether? So your company, how long have you been doing this business between the time of working for the past company and your own company now?
So I think 22 years in the industry and 17 years for myself.
Wow, it's a good amount of time.
Yes.
And in your company, you are working alone, are there people working with you?
Yes, I have a crew. I have a crew. We range from anywhere from 3 to 7 of us, depending on how much work, what we have going on, who wants to work.
Who wants to work?
Yeah,
If you're looking for a job, by the way, and getting involved in waterproofing, maybe we have a job for you. Who knows? Things are getting busier and busier,
Yes.
as some would say. Let's see. So let's talk about what is a basement system, so people understand what it means in a basement system.
So it ranges from house to house. It goes from anywhere from putting drains in, maybe fixing a wall crack, sump pump, encapsulating crawl spaces. It's a large. If you get water in your basement and it's from below grade, that's considered a basement system. What we would put in to fix or make a solution for a problem.
Absolutely. So when you walk into a house or you come to a house that never had any water before, so let's say when I'm working with a client and they're buying a house, one of the most important things I tell people all the time is be prepared and be proactive, and instead of being reactive. If you're proactive and protecting your most important asset, it's going to eliminate stress in your life from having water. When having water in your basement and it happens to you, it's when you literally freak out and freeze, because it's something that just completely shuts you down. You can't believe it just happened to you. So you come to a house that hasn't had water before, and I say, Steve, listen, my client's buying this house here, or they just bought this house, and I'm recommending that you have they have you come put a basement system. What's the beginning of the process? How do you go about it?
You look at the property, look at the inside, you look at the outside, you look at where problems can happen, maybe bad grade, bad gutters. You make recommendations on how to fix things, but you ultimately put the system in to prevent anything. So the system is what's the foolproof part of it. The gutters and the grade help get water away, but you can't always predict where the wind's going to blow the rain, or just all the other variables that come into play. So
Right.
Those work 90% of the time.
So when it comes to going to put a basement system in a house, what is the process of, what kind of piping do you use?
But so it all depends on what the customer wants. It's not a one shop.
One option.
One option,
You
yes.
have multiple options.
Yes.
When you say what the customer wants, is it based on cost of material, or based on they have sometimes a preference because they thought they heard something or somewhere?
Sometimes they thought they heard something, or maybe they have a stone foundation versus a cinder block versus a poured wall. So we use different. So we use more rigid products on a poured or a cinder block. We have more flexible products that we use for something that's not straight, something that will veer off.
So another very important thing, so depending on the kind of foundation you have and what it's made from, will kind of result as to what kind of products being used. And that's actually huge, because most companies have one product they use in all types of basements. You, by walking into a house looking at a basement and seeing what kind of foundation it had, you know that may need to have a different kind of product to service that property best. That's a very good point you make.
Yes.
Very important stuff. So when you're actually putting the basement system in a house, right? So what exactly is it? You have to cut the floor, how does it work?
So yeah,
I mean, tell the people out there, because these people have never had a basement system, and it sounds scary to them. They don't know what it means to actually put a basement system in their house.
so yeah, we first come in, so typically we do the whole perimeter of the basement. And a typical, on a typical poured concrete foundation, we come in, we jackhammer the concrete past your footing, we dig out all the concrete, we dig out some dirt, and then we replace with stone pipe, then we have a secondary drain that sits on top of the footing that will help catch water. Sometimes we do vapor barriers on the wall if the walls are taking water, or if you need a vapor barrier.
Question for you, how deep do you go when you're digging the actual pipe into the ground?
So it depends on the pitch, so it ranges from 6 inches to a foot, depending on the start and end points and how much water, rocks, and drainage. So it depends on your specific house.
Okay, so going back into this, he's going to come into your house, he's going to cut the foundation of your floor, right?
Yes.
Foundation floor. How far away from the wall are you cutting? How much?
So once again, it depends on the size of the footing. It's usually anywhere from 6 inches to a foot back, but it's typically about 6 inches back.
So around the perimeter of your basement, you have to figure a foot roughly in space is being cut from the wall. You're going down, you're digging out all the rock,
Yes.
all the
Dirt,
dirt, rock, mud. So it's a lot of physical work.
Yeah, it's very
I
physical.
mean, very, very physically, and you gotta do, and depend on a small home, let's just say it's 1,000 square foot basement, that's a big perimeter.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
right, because you've got maybe a wall, might be, what are the length and width of a, let's say an average 1,000 square foot house, would you say?
I would say it's about 130 or 100 linear feet around, so
Wow.
that's about typical for about 1,000 square foot basement.
So he's cutting the perimeter of your basement, so all the way down to make sure that the piping can go in where it has to go in order to protect your home. And then after putting the piping, in, you then have to also put a sump in.
Yes.
A sump pump in.
Yeah, wrap the drains, tie them into a sump pump. And then if you have obstacles like an oil tank, we would box it out, go around it, boiler if it's against the wall. You know, you can move your oil tank, but most people don't want to
Right.
have an extra
Disrupt it.
expense.
Right, absolutely. So in going around it, you maneuver around, you've got the system in place, and now it's an hour, 2 hours, 8 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, what kind of process do you typically would say?
It's typically a 2-day process. It depends on how thick the concrete is, it depends on if you want your oil tank moved, or, you know, just typically 2 days.
Okay, so you're cutting into the basement floor, going down to basically the foundation of the home. You're including now these pipes which are made from like a PVC or some kind of plastic material, right?
Yes.
And then you're hooking them into a sump pump. How big is a sump pump?
The sump pump is 18 by 2 feet.
18 inches round?
Yes.
2 feet tall?
Yes, we put the pump in, we put the pump on a pump stand, and the pump stand has foot extensions, so if the pump needs to come up because it's running too much. So we try to get the pump running to the most efficient level, so that way it's just not pumping year round,
Not burning out?
not burning out. So we try to get it so it's at the lowest possible, but also running the most efficiently.
Makes a lot of sense. And how they put the sump pump in makes a huge difference to you as a homeowner, as Steve just mentioned, because if it's running all the time and it doesn't need to be, the pump will not last as long, it can burn out.
Right, the food switch will eventually wear away.
And then we're going to get into that also. So, and that's a very important piece of conversation we're going to have here today about the sump pump and things running out and damaging. But just so you understand, so he's got this whole basement. Now, if a house is a colonial versus a ranch versus a split level house, does it make a difference in the style of house of how you put a system in?
No,
Okay.
no, it does not. It's just the style of foundation makes a difference, not the house itself.
So whether it's block or cinder block foundation, or if it's a slab, not slab, what's it called, just concrete,
Yes,
makes a difference in how you're gonna approach it.
yes.
Okay. And then what happens, you put this whole system in place. Now, are you testing it out while you're still open, or you don't, how does that work? Is that,
Yeah, so when we put the sump pumps in, we flood and make sure everything works, there's no plumbing leaks, that the water's properly flowing outside into the back,
okay.
that there's no problems.
And then you fill back in the hole, around the whole perimeter of the basement. You go back and put it, what do you put inside?
Crushed stone, and then
Is it crushed stone you're bringing in?
Yes,
So you're bringing
Clean
fresh,
stone.
crushed stone, putting it over the piping,
yes, around the piping.
around the piping, and then you put concrete around that?
No,
No.
then, so that's gonna set about an inch under the floor and then about an inch of concrete over it.
Okay, very cool stuff. And there's a reason and a method and a science to everything we're doing here, and this is to eliminate the water from coming into your house again, of course, and you'll never have water again in your home. Now, in some homes, you put one sump pump, sometimes two sump pumps, correct?
Yes.
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I usually size the sump pumps based on if they have existing sump pumps or how many linear feet of drainage they need. And if there's a lot of turns, if there's more friction from the water, put more pumps in so that the water doesn't have, you get very little pitch out of a basement. So you do pitch the pipe, but you don't, so if you did a big pitch, you have a 40-foot wall, you'll end up 3 feet underground. So you kind of, water's self-leveling, so you create a ditch that's pitched. And it's not a lot of pitch, so sometimes if your walls are turning, put another pump in and make sure you can compensate for the amount of friction loss that comes through the water.
Protect. Dave, I'm not sure if anybody's any questions out there on Facebook, Instagram, or on TikTok. Love to answer them. Anybody watching this show that wants to say hello. And while we're doing that, before we get into that, I just want to touch base on your wife, Diane. I want to thank Diane so much for allowing Steve to be here today. Thank you so much for being such a great support and family to this guy over here. You know he's an amazing guy here. You got 3 kids?
Yes, 3 kids.
And how old are they?
Steven is 18, which he works for me on and off.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Great, man. Very smart, Stephen. Get involved in Dad's business because this could be your future.
Charles, he said, hey Steve, he's so proud of you.
Charlie Gaetano, Team Powerhouse, an amazing rock star realtor, as you all know. She's smart and she is fire when it comes to her work. And no, Steve went to high school together with you, I think.
We
right?
grew up in the same neighborhood.
Grew up in the same neighborhood.
friends, yes.
Very cool stuff. Very, very cool. Charlie Gaetano, definitely check her out. A great realtor, a lot of fire behind her with everything she does. And so you got 3 kids. Steve, Oliver.
Steven's 18.
18.
Oliver is 7.
7.
And then there's Parker, that's 4.
Very cool. I love that you have these, 3 boys over here. I'm sure you come home, they're like, Dad, they want to play, right? They've got so much to do and so, a lot of energy, I'm sure, when you come home. And I'm sure Diane appreciates you coming home because she's probably exhausted from the 3 boys.
Yes, she is.
I'm sure. All right, question?
Diane said thank you.
Absolutely, Diane. We thank you so much. And again, anybody who wants to get involved with a guy who's a family man, hard worker, in a great company, this is the guy you want to work with. Steve Smith, Wet Basements Waterproofing LLC. And we'll make sure there's a phone number for him as we continue talking to set up appointments, to get questions answered. He's a guy who's great. He's a man of the people. His cell phone service is not amazing, and I say that sarcastically. Definitely call him, leave a message for him. Diane, I'm going to have you help him work on his voicemail, and because it's going to say what it needs to say on there. And 2, hit text message Steve. And if he doesn't get back to you right away because he's on the job all day long, don't be uncomfortable, text him again.
Yes.
Fair?
Yes, harass me.
Harass him. So going back, family man, hard worker, great company, going back into the system itself, how it's pitched, how it lies. Most of the time, you say 2 sump pumps in a basement system?
I would say not most time.
Not most times.
Most people's basements aren't that big.
Okay.
The average linear feet is probably around 130. So anything from 130 to 140, you want to put 2 pumps in.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the rule of thumb, is once the system gets big. But on average, I'm usually 120 to 140. So most of them usually get 1, but we do 2 a lot too.
Now, going into this, because I actually, who thought was very knowledgeable in sump pumps, learned that I'm not. And how do I learn that I'm not knowledgeable? Based on experience of things happening to me. So 10, 14 years ago, I had a system put in place by some company. And what I didn't know about sump pump systems, there's things that it's important for you to understand and know. A sump pump system, number 1, should be serviced.
Yes.
And how often should a sump pump system be serviced? Would you say yearly would be a good idea?
Yes, it's good to annually come out, take the pump apart, make sure that the air release holes are not clogged. You take it, clean out the sump pump basin, put water in the system, make sure it's not clogged. You do a lot of preventative stuff. So you go outside, make sure you run the pump, make sure there's nothing backed up in the discharge line. So you just run it and you make sure that everything's running properly. Walk around the property, make sure there's no water dumping into bad spots, or you give the homeowner recommendations on what they can do to make there less of a probability to have any future problems.
When it comes to your basement system, again, maintenance is just as important like your car or anything else in your life that you care about. Maintenance is everything. So when you get a system in place, you want to make sure to have it serviced. I never knew that. No one told me every year you should have your systems is serviced and checked out. Number two I learned about, a sump pump lasts for how long, everybody? I bet you don't know the answer to that question because I didn't know it doesn't last forever. Because in my mind, I had a system in place and it just lasts, right? It's just gonna work. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. An average sump lasts how long?
So that's a trick question. They last from a day to 20 years.
Okay.
But on that, so
Average.
you want to be able to replace your sump pump rather than going downstairs and having knee-high water. So if you replace your sump pump every about 5 years, it's a safe number to say your basement's not going to get flooded. Pumps last more than 10 years.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, if you have a battery backup system, you want to replace your battery about every 5 years, because once you lose power, the battery has no power left to, it has no amp life left to crank the motor to start it.
So if you say in the ballpark of 5 to 10 years, let's say 10 years on a sump pump itself, it would be a good time to replace it maximum? What would you say is the max time on a sump pump?
I would say, people have, 5 years would
Okay.
be the right number.
So 5 years on a sump pump and 5 or 6 years on a battery backup?
5 years on the battery, on a battery backup.
Okay. Important to know this stuff. I didn't know that. I did not know that you should be replacing your battery because I didn't think about that. No one told me. You think to yourself that, well, the battery only goes on when it needs to go on. But no, reality is it's running all the time.
Yes.
And because it's running all the time, you need to make sure, number one, service your system every year. By servicing your system every year, things may last longer and less problems happening. Because the worst thing you can do is have your basement flood after putting a system in, because you'll be very upset about that.
Well, if I have the system serviced, it makes you aware that, I tell you, I read the tag on the pump, you have a 7-year-old pump. Or I put my voltage meter on your battery, say the thing is no good.
Yes.
Rather than it being 10 years down the road and you know when you have a problem.
Yes.
The battery sits on a tender, so the battery's reading its charge, but once it goes off the tender, it's no longer good.
I bet you guys didn't know this stuff, but if you didn't know, you're learning today, that makes me happy. And more importantly, when you're buying a system and putting a system in place in your house to protect your home, you want to make sure you know how to maintain the system. You buy a house, you buy any kind of mechanicals, whether it's your air conditioning system or your heating system, you're buying anything that comes to the most important thing to protect your home. A basement system is very important to know how to maintain that whole experience. So we have the sump pump, we have the battery backup, we have the system in place now. We have to make sure that we service it every year. And by doing this, again, you will have less likely water in your basement. Recently, I will tell you, I had a water situation in my basement about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe 5. And again, I had a basement system in place. Unfortunately, the power went out a couple of times. I don't know what happened. It tripped everything over. We had a lot of rain. We had snow, hydrostatic pressure, they call that. Water comes in. Something you need to know also, if you have a sump pump system, can actually get insurance on your home covering water basement problems if you have a sump pump in your house. You cannot get water coverage in your house if you don't have a sump pump system. So it's very important to know, by putting a sump pump system in place, you can have an insurance policy for that water damage. And you can have a water coverage up to $20,000. So if you own a sump pump system, a real sump pump system, call your insurance company. If you just have a sump pump in your basement, and you bought a home and there's an old sump pump in there, this is where you want to make sure to call up Steve, have him come, look at your house, be proactive. You could have said, I haven't had water here in 10 years. Everything's great until it's not. Because the cost of replacing that basement is thousands of dollars, and problems of all the stuff that's in your basement, like we have.
Yes.
So we had so much stuff in my basement. You have your storage room of all the crap that shouldn't be there because you need to get rid of it anyway. But you have all this storage in your storage room. You have your furniture, you have your kids' toys, you have your personal items. It's absolute chaos when basement water happens. So be proactive. Call Steve. His number, just in case you don't have it in front of you, is 203-444-5985. He's got a website you want to check out for sure. That is gonna be Wet Basement Waterproofing LLC.com. And on this website, you're gonna see maybe Steve, maybe some photos, some video of what he does, but more importantly, you're gonna become very educated on what is involved in getting a basement system. Is that fair and reasonable?
Yes, it is.
All right, so, water basement waterproofing is very important for your home. Why? Because the cost of repairs is huge, right?
It is.
And the cost of a system is not as expensive as you think it might be, especially when you call Steve. Obviously, systems are all different based on the size of a home,
Yes.
but I can tell you that the other companies out there that you see advertised very heavily are very, very, very expensive. Very expensive. Is that fair to say that?
Yes.
And your pricing is significantly less.
Yes.
And your warranty, what kind of warranty comes with your product?
Lifetime warranty on all the drainage and all the work. 3-year manufacturer warranty on the pump. The manufacturer warranties the pump, so your pump goes bad in 3 years. I come out, I replace it, no charge to the homeowner. Then I send it back to where I bought it from, and they send me a new pump.
Fantastic. What is a service, may I ask what a service call costs to have you come out every year? Is that a fair question? Is that, I'm putting it in a spot, I'm not sure if you would.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I charge about $200 to come out and
Okay.
service everything, look over everything.
So when you go every year and you have a heating system, and you get your heating system serviced, that probably costs you about $200, right? You have your AC system, you have AC, that probably costs you about $200. You should put on your calendar yearly checkup, heating, cooling, if you have both, basement system, right?
Yes.
You wanna make sure your home is checked. You wanna make sure you're protecting your home. It's so important to protect your house. It's the most important asset you own. And if you protect and maintain your home will increase in value tremendously. And by the way, when you have a basement system in your home, that just adds tremendous value for resale. All day long, when we walk into a house as an agent, and we see that it has a basement system in there, we know that the house is protected by water. And we know that that basement system is going to be lasting a lifetime. You're gonna wanna make sure when you buy that house, you're going to have it serviced. You're gonna make sure you bring Steve in, have him take a peek at it, make sure everything's nice and healthy in there. Make sure to check out to see the age of the sump pump. If there's any battery backup, I recommend a battery backup. In my house, we did not have a battery backup where the sump pump would failed, and we had some issues. So, that being said, be educated, be proactive, and therefore you're going to be not only educated, but financially protected,
Yes, and especially if you have a finished basement.
especially if it's
If you have
basement.
a lot of loss, a lot of mold.
Yes. If your basement's not finished yet, this is a great time to do it, before you finish the basement. It makes it much easier.
Yeah.
So roughly a 2-day turnaround for the whole system to be replaced, and then calling you on a yearly to make sure that it's maintained. Is there anything else you want to add about, the basement system, the products, or anything else that's involved for the people to know about? Anything you want to?
So yeah, we offer a lot of products. We do sump pumps. We also do basement air systems for humidity to prevent mold.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know you have those systems. So what's it called?
So we do a basement air system. It's basically an HVAC product that April Air manufactures. It takes the air, it reconditions the air through a filter,
Oh, wow.
and it turns your relative humidity in your basement. You set the dial down to 50%. So because 50% is anything above 50, your basement can grow mold. Below it can't grow mold.
So is this something that's tied into the basement system?
Well, yes, because you would take the drain to the sump pump, so you don't ever have to empty a bucket or anything. So there's two good products on the market. Santa Fe makes one in April Air. I've been using the April Air more because it's an equal product and it's more cost effective, and it has a digital readout, so it's easier for, the other one you gotta kind of set it to a hydrometer to make sure that
So this is, again, just so I got the name of it, it's called
April Air.
April Air, and it's what kind of system is it?
It's an HVAC system.
HVAC system that helps,
It's a dehumidifier, HVAC.
it's a dehumidifier?
Yes.
It's a dehumidifier system that you install while installing a basement system, or not necessarily?
Yeah, you could do it separate, you could do it together.
Okay.
You could just do that by itself.
All good stuff. Guys, get to know Steve, make sure you call him, learn about protecting your home, protect your home. If you know somebody who needs, please make sure they watch this show. Share this show with them, share it on Facebook, share it on your different social media platforms, because you're gonna help save somebody from a major headache. We are in the middle of winter, very mild winter we have, by the way.
Yes.
But with the amount of snow we've had problems. The amount of rain we've had, the rain that we get now in Connecticut is probably more than we've ever had before.
Right.
And people don't understand that the hydrostatic pressure, the pressure of that water, it's gotta go somewhere. So when water hits that ground and absorbing into the ground, it's gonna find its least path of resistance.
Right, so in the last couple months, so we take our jackhammer, we make the hole, and as soon as we make the hole, we start digging. And we've been hitting water, so with the water, we put a temporary pump in it, so it's been taking us about 2 hours sometimes to pump these basements out, because there's so much water under the basement right now. Water will just flow, and then eventually, by the time we leave, it's running periodically, but it's not running nonstop, but the hydrostatic pressure is just sitting there, and through the sump pump hole, it's being relieved, and it's being put elsewhere.
One more thing, when you're actually finished with the product installed and you have it outside the house, what do you use to shoot the water out? How far is the water being sent out from the house?
It all depends on your house, so anywhere from 10 feet to 100 feet.
So from 10 feet to 100 feet, you have the water shoot out from the house?
Yes.
And it's gotta go in a way that it's gonna not come back necessarily as easily.
Yeah, so anywhere is not next to the septic or the leach fields that people have them, and not next to the property lines, not next to the street. So you gotta find the right part of your lawn, usually where there's a nice little slope, where the water just disappears.
Excellent stuff, Steve, you're awesome, man. So much knowledge, so important to you. Get yourself protected, get to know Steve Smith. It's called Wet Basement Waterproofing LLC. Again, his number, which should be on the screen, 203-444-5985. He services all over Connecticut. He's a great guy. He's a guy that when you put your product in, he cares about you. He's not just in the sales, it's a long-term relationship with you.
Yes.
And that's everything. I want to wish you guys a wonderful day, evening. We have the next part of our show, of course. We've got a free tumbler. We have a blue version as well. So we have blue, we have black, we have pink. And if you would like to be on the list, please let us know. We will make sure you're on the wheel so you have a chance to win a free tumbler. Thane, let's spin that wheel, my friend, and let's see who the next winner is, please. Let's see.
Felicia Davies.
Felicia Diddy's?
Davies.
Davies. Felicia Davies, you just won a tumbler. And please reach out to us so we can have your contact information. I think what we're going to start doing from now on is getting their addresses when we add them to the list, so we have that, because originally we didn't ask for it. We just have your social media platforms. What social media platform are they coming from?
That one doesn't say.
Okay, so Felicia, please get in touch with us. We'll get you a tumbler out to you. We're very happy and excited for you to win this prize and continue to add more people to this wheel. Again, if you want to be on the list, please Instagram, Facebook, let us know. We'll definitely, or TikTok, let us know. We'll add you to the list over here on the spinning wheel. Thank you so much for being a part of our show every week. Thank you, Diane and family, for having Steve here with us today. Steve, thank you so much for doing a great job educating the people and making sure that they're protected. Again, Eric misses you today, couldn't be here as with clients on the walkthrough in Winsted, Connecticut. We have a great team available for you if you need to buy or sell a home. We would love to work for you. We thank you so much again for giving us the opportunity to be a part of your lives every week, and we will see you next week.